So Marquis says to me, I'm sitting there all them nights in Magic City. That was the phrase that pays, man. Like, he's like, I missed that test. Then out of nowhere, he goes, man, I got 99 problems. A bitch ain't one. I said, what you say?
67 years old. A symbol once thought to have fallen silent. But Ice-T, the man who once made America tremble with Cop Killer, has spoken again. And this time, not to rap. In the dim light of a podcast, he uttered something no one had dared to mention for the past 40 years. A bitter truth about fame, money, and the price of being real in a world that worships deceit. People once saw him as a criminal, then praised him as a legend. But Ice-T himself, he says he's simply the last survivor. So what made Ice-T, after more than half a century of silence, finally say, I've had enough? And could what he's about to reveal be the final explosion of the gangsta rap legend? A childhood fed by fear. In 1958, in Newark, New Jersey, a child was born amid factory smoke and the wail of police sirens. They called him Tracy Lauren Marrow, but the world would later know him as Ice-T. His life didn't begin with a lullaby, but with a funeral. His mother died of heart disease when he was just 3. His father, a gentle postal worker, struggled to raise him, until at 12 he too passed away suddenly. 2 graves. One child standing in the cemetery silent as if the world had locked its doors behind him. With no one left beside him, Tracy was sent to live with his aunt in Los Angeles, more precisely in South Central, where violence wasn't news, but a way of life. In the 1970s, this area was ruled by infamous gangs like the Hoover Crips and the Bloods. Every street had its own law. Every corner could end a life. The boy from Newark arrived like an alien creature, speaking differently, dressing differently, and not knowing which side he belonged to. Crenshaw High didn't teach essay writing, it taught survival. If you didn't belong to a crew, you were prey, Ice-T recalled. In his early days, he was constantly robbed and beaten. Once cornered against a wall, he saw the glint of a knife reflected in another man's eyes. But instead of drawing a weapon, he struck back with words. He talked, he cursed, he rapped. And for the first time, words saved his life. Tracy's world had no heroes until he found a torn book in a second-hand store, Pimp: The Story of My Life, by Iceberg Slim. It wasn't just a memoir about a pimp. It was a lesson in power in rewriting one's fate when society treats you like trash. He taught me that even bad men have their own philosophy, Ice-T once said. He took the name Ice-T as a tribute to the man who gave him a reason to believe there was still a way to live, even if it meant living in the dark. But in South Central, darkness runs deeper than anyone thinks. After graduation with no degree, no job, Ice-T wrestled with 2 choices: work for pennies or join his friends chasing fast money. By any means. When the Crips flashed their Cadillacs and Nike shoes down the street, envy turned into drive. At 19, Tracy stepped into crime, petty theft, carjacking, and store break-ins. Then in 1979, he joined the Army, not out of patriotism, but to escape poverty. It was the only way to leave Los Angeles without ending up in prison. Ice-T was stationed in Hawaii, where white sand and blue water felt like another planet after a childhood filled with gun smoke. There he discovered 2 things that would change his life forever: discipline and hip-hop. One night in the barracks when Rapper's Delight played on the radio, he was stunned. I heard them tell their stories over a beat and realized I had stories too, he recalled. During late-night guard shifts, Ice-T began to write. Not poems, not a diary, but confessions in rhyme. I didn't learn how to live, I learned how not to die. In Hawaii, an unknown soldier recorded his first demo on an old cassette. When his comrades listened, they laughed. Man, you're a gangster storyteller. Ice-T smiled. They didn't know it was the first compliment of his life. But fate doesn't forgive easily. In 1981, after leaving the service, Ice-T returned to Los Angeles, and the world was unchanged except for him. No diploma, no family, no direction. Money gone, temptation still there. I wanted to do right, but right doesn't pay the bills, he said later. So Ice-T slipped back into crime, this time sharper, colder. He and his crew planned jewelry heists, quick jobs precise like movie scenes. They called it smash and grab, but every game has limits. A car crash during one getaway left Ice-T badly injured. In the hospital, he woke to find his friend arrested, while he himself had escaped. That friend took the sentence for him. "You've been born again, don't waste it," the man said before going to prison. And maybe that was the first time Ice-T truly felt fear, not of death, but of becoming his old self again. From the hospital bed, he began writing more. Verses about poverty, fear, injustice. He brought his tapes to block parties stood in the middle of gang crowds and told his own story through the beat of drums. When the crowd fell silent, Ice-T knew he had found something stronger than guns: the power of truth in words. "I didn't choose rap," he said in an interview. "I chose to live." In the years that followed, the name Ice-T began echoing through South Los Angeles. No one believed that a former thief could make people listen, but that was the power of honesty. Every line he dropped hit reality like a bullet. And though he didn't know it yet, those raw verses would pave the way for a global movement, gangsta rap, where harsh truths were sung instead of buried. The orphaned boy had survived, not by luck, but by learning how to tell his pain. Yet he didn't realize the road that music opened would soon lead him into a fiercer war, a war against all of America. "If it weren't for rap, I'd be dead." In the early 1980s, Los Angeles glittered in the neon glow of the night. But for Ice-T, it was a city of shadows. He was no longer the dreamer soldier writing rhymes in a Hawaiian barracks, but a full-fledged thief living on speed and adrenaline. The smash-and-grab heists shattering glass. Grabbing the goods escaping in under 90 seconds became his livelihood. He and his crew moved like characters in heat, masked wielding sledgehammers, leaving no trace. "We didn't want to kill anybody," Ice-T recalled. "We just wanted money and to get out fast." Those days he dressed like a star, but lived in fear. Every siren made his heart race. Ice-T admitted, "I had no future. I only had tonight." But everything collapsed in an instant. A failed robbery, a car crash on Slauson Avenue that tore the crew apart. 2 friends were arrested. Ice-T, by luck or fate, lay unconscious in a hospital bed, uncharged for lack of evidence. When he awoke wrapped in bandages, he saw his own crime reported on TV. The headline read, "Gang robs jewelry store, estimated damage over $200,000. A close friend took the fall." Before sentencing, he told Ice-T one thing: "Tracy, don't let me go to jail for nothing." That line haunted him for years. In those long hospital nights, he asked himself, were some people born just to die in the streets? Or was that just the excuse of the hopeless? After that, Ice-T vanished from the crew. He cut all ties, left the game behind. "I'd seen enough dead bodies," he said. "If I stayed, I'd be one of them." But leaving crime brought another enemy: emptiness. No job, no money, no direction. Then at small block parties around Crenshaw, he picked up the mic again. For the first time in years, Ice-T wasn't afraid he was telling his story. Those nights the crowd didn't cheer. They listened. Ice-T didn't rap about cars or women. He rapped about violence cops and the feeling of being forgotten by society. His voice was rough, broken, but real enough to chill spines. Someone whispered, "He's confessing." But that raw honesty froze the crowd silent. He won a freestyle contest in LA with a rap about the crash that sent his friend to prison. "I don't rap to be famous," he said. "I rap to survive." In 1983, Ice-T recorded his first mixtape, The Coldest Rap. It spread through the underground like a lucky charm, gritty, loud, but true to every beat. DJs from Compton, Inglewood, and Long Beach started spinning his music at block parties. Ice-T became the voice of the forgotten, the black underclass with no options but to crime or hunger. "I didn't pick rap because I liked it," he said in a 1988 interview. "I picked it because it was the only thing that kept me from robbing again." That sentence became a manifesto for a generation. For him, every song was confession, every show a trial. By late 1983, The Coldest Rap reached producer Willie Strong, who had worked with funk and R&B artists. "I'd never heard anyone rap that made me feel guilty," before Strong said. Ice-T's story went beyond music. It was a confession, a chronicle of an America no one wanted to face. At that time, Los Angeles was drowning in the crack epidemic. Crime had risen 400% in 7 years. Amid that chaos, Ice-T was a messenger in the war zone. He stood between 2 worlds. One was the underworld he came from. The other was the stage lights calling his name. Between them, only music kept him from falling. People often asked, "Why don't you leave LA?" He'd smile, "I'm not running from the place that made me. I just changed the way I fight." Ice-T kept performing everywhere from small clubs in Compton to schools where he warned kids about the fastest road to prison. But truth comes at a price. Many former partners felt betrayed. One warned him, "Rap about yourself, not about us." Ice-T knew if he wanted to live, he had to choose silence or truth. He chose to speak. When he stood before the microphone, Ice-T wasn't just an artist. He was a witness. He told what America tried to bury: violence, poverty, racism. And that's what made him different. "I don't know how to write love songs," he said, "but I know how to write about the cold, the strange cold that never leaves." The rise of gangsta rap and America's outrage. Late 1980s Los Angeles was a city split in two. On one side, the glitter of Hollywood. On the other, neighborhoods burning with crack and gunfire. It was at that border that Ice-T emerged empty-handed, armed only with words. He didn't sing to entertain, he testified. And the music he created jolted America awake: gangsta rap. In 1987, Ice-T released Rhyme Pays, the first album in history to carry the label Parental Advisory, explicit lyrics. A small sticker, yet it marked the beginning of a cultural war that would last decades. In that album, he rapped about corrupt cops, drugs, murder, and death as a daily meal in South Central. If you call that fiction, Ice-T said it means you've never lived here. Within its first year, Rhyme Pays sold over 500,000 copies, a massive number for a rapper who had never been on TV. Ice-T suddenly became the voice of an entire forgotten generation. But at the same time, politicians, police, and journalists branded him a criminal propagandist. On television, lawmakers declared, "This music poisons black youth." Ice-T smiled. "No, it just reflects the America you built." A year later, he released Power 1988. Its cover sparking controversy. Ice-T posed between two semi-nude women holding guns. The album sold over 1.5 million copies, reached Billboard's top 40, and made Ice-T a superstar. But to him, fame meant nothing. "I don't write to be loved," he said. "I write to be understood." The peak came in 1991 with OG Original Gangster. Rolling Stone called it the Constitution of Gangsta Rap. In it, Ice-T narrated the criminal world with a calm, chilling voice. He didn't glorify crime, he described it as undeniable truth. That tone earned him the title, the father of gangsta rap. But what truly enraged America hadn't arrived until Ice-T formed the rock metal band Body Count and released the song Cop Killer in 1992. The track lasted under 4 minutes but shook the entire nation. "I'm a cop killer," Ice-T screamed over frenzied guitars. It wasn't a threat, it was the cry of those who watched innocent black men die at police hands every day. But America refused to listen. Within weeks, Cop Killer became a political firestorm. President George H.W. Bush, Vice President Dan Quayle, and several governors publicly condemned Ice-T. Police unions protested outside Warner Brothers, demanding the song's ban and threatening to boycott the entire label. On TV, his face replayed beneath the caption, "Incites violence." The pressure was overwhelming. Warner Brothers pulled the album, ended his contract, and issued a public apology. Ice-T was branded America's enemy. Radio stations banned his music. Some cities even passed resolutions forbidding his performances. Instead of retreating, Ice-T fired back, "If telling the truth scares you, then the problem isn't me." That quote became a rallying cry for the entire hip-hop community. Dozens of young artists from Tupac and Snoop Dogg to NWA hailed Ice-T as the pioneer who dared to challenge the system. They called him the real OG, the true original gangster. While the media smeared him, the streets worshipped him. In Compton, Long Beach, and Harlem, Cop Killer echoed like an anthem for the voiceless. Ice-T became a dual symbol, rebel to the state, hero to the poor. Yet, the price of truth was isolation. After Cop Killer, Ice-T was nearly erased from mainstream music. No label would sign a man monitored by the FBI. He lost almost every sponsorship deal and had to self-produce his projects. But he never apologized. "I don't write to be forgiven," he said. "I write so history will know we spoke." In 1993, while other rappers compromised to survive in showbiz, Ice-T declared, "I lost money, I lost fame, but I kept my soul." And perhaps that's what made him immortal in pop culture. Gangsta rap kept exploding, becoming the mainstream heartbeat of American music. Yet few remember that the one who lit the fuse wasn't Tupac or NWA, but a former jewelry store robber named Ice-T. When asked if he regretted cop killer Ice-T, simply shrugged. They're more afraid of a song than of cops shooting innocent people. That's what's truly scary. And perhaps that single line defines his entire legacy. A man who never needed the world's approval to speak the truth. From orphan to outlaw to the man who forced America to face itself, Ice-T never apologized for being real. From then on, the legend of Cop Killer was no longer just a song. It was the declaration of a generation that dared to speak when pushed to the edge. From enemy of the police to television's most iconic detective. There's an irony Ice-T himself once laughed about. I used to be hunted by the cops, now they pay me to work with them on TV. In 1991, while OG Original Gangster was still stirring controversy, Ice-T accepted a role in New Jack City, a classic crime film about the war between the police and the streets. He played Scotty Appleton, an undercover cop determined to take down a drug ring led by Wesley Snipes' character. It was his first acting role, and the turning point that transformed him from a banned rapper into a bona fide Hollywood actor. The movie was a major hit, grossing over $47 million, and critics had to admit the real-life gangster rapper played a cop with chilling authenticity. From there, Ice-T appeared in a string of action films such as Ricochet, 1991, Trespass 1992, and Surviving the Game, 1994. But his true career shift came in 2000, when NBC invited him to join Law & Order Special Victims Unit as Detective Odafin Finn Tutola, a seasoned streetwise former undercover cop who understood crime from the inside. Initially, the character was meant to appear for only a few episodes. 24 years later, Finn Tutola had become a cornerstone of American television culture. As of 2025, Ice-T has appeared in nearly 500 episodes of SVU, making him the longest-running black actor to portray a single television role in U.S. history, a record surpassing even his musical milestones. The irony, or perhaps miracle, is that this very role reshaped his public image from enemy of the police to the most trusted cop on TV. Yet that irony never made him lose his edge. When asked, "Do you find it contradictory to play a cop after rapping against them?" he just smiled. "I don't hate cops. I hate abuse of power." The line hit like a gunshot. Ice-T understood better than anyone the fragile boundary between justice and authority. He had lived in a world where police meant fear, not protection, and that made his portrayal of Finn different. The character wasn't a hero. He was real a cop who knew what it meant to be crushed by the system. Behind the scenes, Ice-T earned a reputation for professionalism, punctuality, and contagious positivity. Co-star Mariska Hargitay, the show's lead actress, once said, "Ice keeps the heartbeat of our crew. He knows what it means to fight every day, so he never forgets to be grateful for still being here." Still, not everyone approved. Some younger rappers accused him of betraying hip-hop's spirit. Online critics called him a sellout. Ice-T simply replied, "If you've ever buried your friends because of violence, you'll understand why I chose to stand on the other side." He didn't play a cop to whitewash his past, but to show that even within the system, there's room for truth. Finn Tutuola wasn't an angel or a devil. He was both, just like Ice-T himself. Gradually, America embraced that image. A man once labeled dangerous by a president was now celebrated as a cultural icon. In 2023, when NBC marked SVU's 25th anniversary, Ice-T was honored as the soul of the show. During his thank you speech, he said, "I've come a long way from being arrested by the cops to playing one. Life really is a circle, but at least I'm alive to walk it." From cop killer to Detective Finn, Ice-T proved what few ever dared to believe. The truth never dies. It just changes roles, so it can keep being heard. When Ice-T faced the modern world, in 2001, when his career had passed its peak and the shadow of cop killer still followed him, Ice-T met a woman who made the world see him differently, Nicole Coco Austin. At the time, she was a glamour model known for Shooters magazine, and Ice-T was a 43-year-old rapper, once branded the face of street violence. They met during a photo shoot. "I saw her smile and thought, this is the girl who can make me forget all my problems," Ice-T recalled. 2 months later, they were married. No engagement, no plan, no calculation. Just two reckless souls choosing love. The public erupted instantly. Coco was only 22, with a striking figure and a bold style that earned her the nickname the real-life Barbie. They were attacked for their 21-year age gap, their opposite looks a hardened black rapper and a platinum blonde model who looked straight out of Playboy. The press called it a publicity stunt, but they didn't care. "I know people don't believe it," Ice-T said. "But when she looks at me, I'm not a rapper or a rebel, I'm just a man." Their love, however, wasn't without storms. In 2012, Hollywood shook when TMZ released photos of Coco looking intimate with rapper AP9 in Las Vegas. The internet exploded. Ice-T, usually calm and restrained, took to Twitter in anger for the first time. "You disrespected me. You know what that means." Those few words became headlines everywhere. Everyone thought their crazy marriage was over. But then Ice-T quietly deleted the post, and to everyone's surprise, forgave her. Months later in an interview, he simply said, "If she still loves me, and I still love her, then nobody else gets a say." Coco tearfully admitted, "We had to learn how to love each other all over again." 3 years later came the proof of that love. Chanel Nicole Marrow, their daughter, born in 2015. Ice-T at 57 became a father in the truest sense. "I've seen too many things die in my life. Now I want to see something live," he said. On the real. Coco, ever glamorous, cradled her baby in tight dresses that kept tabloids buzzing. Many criticized Coco as inappropriate for posting sexy photos while raising a child, accusing her of using her body for fame. She remained calm. "We're real. That's why we're still here." Though seen as an unconventional couple, they've remained remarkably strong. 2 decades later, Ice-T still calls Coco the energy of my life. On The View, he once joked, "Coco is my software update. I'm just the outdated hardware." Behind the humor lies a simple truth. Coco taught Ice-T how to be a husband, a father, and a man. She pulled him out of the image of the defiant outlaw and helped him become someone who could care, listen, and be vulnerable. Ice-T was no longer the rapper with a gun on the streets of South Central, but a father holding a microphone while teaching his daughter to rap in the living room. Coco isn't just the sexy woman tabloids love to describe. She's the only one who dared to see the fragile, wounded core inside the man once known as Cop Killer. Through her, Ice-T found balance between fame and peace, between past and present. And perhaps that's why, when asked the secret to a 20-year Hollywood marriage, Ice-T just smiles. "We never tried to be like anyone else. We just tried not to lose each other." From scandal to serenity, from infamy to respect, their love story has become a rarity in show business, where most marriages end before people truly understand love. Coco Austin didn't just change Ice-T's life, she made the world see that even the toughest rebel can learn how to love. "I don't need a committee of geniuses to confirm I'm real." 40 years ago, Ice-T was just a young man standing on Crenshaw Boulevard with a cheap microphone and a dream of survival. Today, he is an icon not just of rap, but of resilience. When he received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2023, Ice-T stood silently for a long time before saying, "I didn't come here to be loved. I came here to prove that survival is its own kind of genius." It wasn't a sudden moment of glory. It was the result of 4 decades battling poverty prejudice, and the labels America once stuck to his skin. From being seen as a public menace, Ice-T became a man honored among the biggest stars in the world. Beside him that day were Coco and their daughter Chanel, proof that every storm eventually passes if you're strong enough to endure. 2 years earlier in 2021, Ice-T and his band Body Count won the Grammy Award for Best Metal Performance with their song Bum Rush. When his name was announced, the room fell silent for a few seconds, as if history itself needed a moment to process what was happening. The man once blacklisted for Cop Killer was now holding a golden statue for the very sound that once terrified America. Ice-T just smiled. "Maybe they haven't forgiven me, but at least they can't ignore me." Beyond music and film, Ice-T left his mark in words. In his memoirs, Ice: A Memoir of Gangster Redemption, 2012 and Split Decision 2022, he wrote about Alfonso Aguilar, the close friend who went to prison in his place after a robbery in their youth. "I'm not a hero," Ice-T wrote. "I'm just the one who got to live longer." Those books weren't celebrations of triumph. They were quiet confessions that sometimes survival isn't about strength, but about luck. In an entertainment world that grows more artificial each day, Ice-T became a leader of the real talk movement. Speak the truth. Live the truth. No sugarcoating. No pretending. In every interview, he reminds young artists, If you need to build a persona for people to like you, you're not an artist, you're an actor. Selling ads. His words cut like blades, but everyone knows they come from a man who survived on raw truth. Offstage, Ice-T frequently visits juvenile detention centers to speak to lost kids. He brings no flowers, no speeches, just walks up to the mic and says, "I'm not a hero. I just lived longer than you will if you keep this up." To them, it's not advice, it's proof. Proof that someone who crawled through the same mud can stand tall, without forgetting where he came from. A man once branded a social threat now teaches courage, honesty, and loyalty. Young people call him the master of reinvention gangster artist father. At 67, Ice-T still tours, still films Law & Order SVU, still raps, and still speaks about justice. But unlike before, he no longer seeks validation. He only wants the world to know he's never been fake. In a recent interview, a host asked, "Do you see yourself as a genius?" Ice-T laughed, "I don't need a committee of geniuses to tell me that. I'm real, and that's rare enough." Perhaps that's the greatest thing he's left behind. Not the trophies, not the platinum records, but a declaration of survival. Ice-T never promised to be good, but he always chose to be real. And in a world full of masks, that might just be the greatest thing of all. If this story touched you, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. We'll keep bringing you more stories about those who once hit rock bottom and rose again to make the world look back in awe.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.